Hello, welcome to the show. Sorry, we were just talking in the green room, and I want to finish the conversation. We do not have a guest this week. We are holding this show down, just the four of us, which should be fun. And also Rand and Jez are currently cutting our lunch, so we didn't want to have a guest in. Whatever, that's just a fucking excuse. Umbra, how you doing? How's your week been? What have you been up to? How's life?
Man. That's life. It's been great, man. I've been up to a bunch of things this week, largely work. It seems like work, home, sleep. But I've still been ponying it up. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it took a second to get it out, and there, of course, there was an ambulance in the background, as customary for me. Yeah, no, I've been a pony for this past like 2 weeks, I suppose. So I've kind of neglected the Xbox family. I'll be on tonight, though. I will be playing some Halo and a bunch of other things, just and such, and Modern Warfare 3. Even I'll try to get into that, and I want to give another thank you to my podcast mate here, Holly, for the gift. Thank you very much, Holly. And she told me I owe her a lifetime of servitude, so it's all right. I have no problem with that for this. So no, but seriously, we had a good show yesterday, myself, Danny, and I brought my buddy Crusader through for the fix. That was really good discussion. We talked about the Bungie woes and Sony issues, among other things. But yeah, man, other than that, also appeared on Boom's podcast earlier today, so I had a good talk with them. I actually dozed off I dozed off talking with Boom. Maybe about, I guess, 3/5, like 3/4 of the show, I dozed off. Luckily, the mic was quiet, and I just said back, and they was like, "Oh, Umbra, you're back." And then people in the chat were like, "He was knocked out." I'm like, "Yes, I was." But but other than that, it was a good show. Happy to be here with you guys tonight. It's just us four carrying it tonight. Let's do it.
Yeah. We, I think all of us burn the candle at both ends for the most part, except for the responsible Blue. But Jedi, how's your week going? How's your what have you been up to? I know you've been balls deep in the realm of Helm Deep. Well, I don't think it's called Helm's Deep. What's the name of that damn game that you're playing?
Very close enough to it. Lords of the Fallen. Love that game. Do not understand the hate for it. I'm having so much fun. I know, like, a lot of people saying Lies of P is better. I played the demo of Lies of P and it just didn't work for me. So I'm loving Lords of the Fallen. Halo is back, baby. 900,000 people playing. I think it's in the top 10 now of games played. So loving that. I had a chance to just dip my toe into Call of Duty, but not too much. Same thing with Alan Wake. Way too much to play at the moment. Thank you, chat, for being here. Episode 97. Let's go.
Absolutely, Blue. What have you been up to? How has your week been? I know you've been ripping your way through the original or the remastered version of Alan Wake, so you could jump into the butt crack 2. I mean, Alan Wake 2. So how's your week been? What have you been up to? How you feeling about the games so far?
Hey everyone, hello. I have kind of jumped around all over this week. It's been a little crazy. I played a little bit of 76 because it makes Riskit mad, so I had to do it. And gotcha. I burned through Alan Wake the remaster this week, and that game. I'm beyond glad to be done with that, and set myself up to start Alan Wake 2. Started that a little bit today, and I saw a man with his USB stick and his data port in the back all out, and that was fun. It's quite a way to start a game. But I also played Payday 3 last night with Pete and Red Wolf. And I've been playing the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 campaign.
Yeah, which we're definitely going to get into. So we'll probably get to that one straight off the bat. But God, I'm right at the end of Alan Wake 2. It had one of those endings where it looks like it's going to end, but it didn't end. So now I think I've still probably got maybe another hour to knock through that. But that's definitely game of the year at the moment. Played a fair bit of Modern Warfare 3 yesterday to get a feel for it. And I'm really glad I did, based on what happened today when IGN dropped a score of 4 for the campaign, which is just completely unfair. And I know we've been screaming Xbox tax and bias from the rooftops, but they really don't make it. And then it's constantly rebutted and refuted by people from IGM. And then this, they've given Quantum Error, which was a broken, half-finished, technically poor game, a 5. And then when you look at Modern Warfare, and I don't particularly have a lot good to say about the actual Modern Warfare campaign. I'm not really a big fan of it. I've got a lot of issues with it, and we'll get into that. But when you give Quantum Error a 5, which is buggy, like broken, there's game-breaking bugs in it. There's parts of the game that are just completely untextured. So it has a disjointed story. The actual mechanics of the game aren't good. So there's nothing that's good about Quantum Error, like nothing. And then when you contrast that with Call of Duty, and the mechanics are solid, they're always going to be solid. It's one of the most beautiful looking games every year that it comes out. Performance wise, it's almost completely flawless as far as I could tell. Like, I'm obviously not Digital Foundry and sitting there looking for that one frame drop in an hour. It's unbelievable that's none of that's taken into account. Oh, Colt has joined the show. G'day, Colt. How you doing?
Good. I love your guys' show, so I wanted to be here for a little bit, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
I really like your guys' show.
Always.
Well, I mean, I like you guys a lot, but maybe that's a bias.
Who
How
invited?
fun was Halo
Who
yesterday,
invited
Colt?
Colt?
That was
Get
so much
out.
fun.
Riskit messaged me last night, and I've been real quick before you guys get back to your stuff. Like, I've done so many. I do my weekly podcast. I've been on a lot of podcasts about video games anymore. And Riskit asked me last night, and I'm like, I'm trying to take a break because somebody else asked me the other day, and I'm like, no, I'm going to take a break for a while. And then I just see your guys' show, and I'm like, how could I have to be here? So anyway, go carry on.
Oh, no, awesome. Thanks for jumping in. I really appreciate it, man. It's always great to have you on. So we do have a guest. We're going to talk to Rand, by the way, about running for 4 hours, man. It's an issue.
They can't stop those guys, Jez is playing video games and not even paying attention to the show. And yeah, that's crazy. I don't know how they do it.
I can't believe this score, though. I'll go to you, Colt, because obviously we've had a bit of a talk about it in the green room, but have you had a chance to play the campaign yet?
No, but I've been hearing for like 2 or 3 weeks that this was going to be a really bad campaign, that Sledgehammer was, kind of expanded it and it wasn't very good. And one of my friends was predicting like a high 50 or low 60. Mm-hmm. And then once these previews came in, like this IGN 4, everyone's flipping out. And then one of my friends just shared a picture of the PS5 bundle, like laughing because the PlayStation guys are like, Xbox ruined Call of Duty, but yet there's a huge bundle deal going with the PS5 on a 4 out of 10. So go figure. All's right in the world.
I have problems with the campaign, 110%. So the open missions that they sort of pitched as a positive are definitely a negative. It feels like they've cut sections out of Warzone and dropped it into the campaign. And then it's got the what do you call them? The loot boxes that you can go to and change. Yeah, the loadout boxes.
Supply boxes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you can go there and change your loadout, and then it's got stealth, but the stealth doesn't really work properly. You can't stealth that whole mission. Like, it's almost impossible if you're doing an open world. I'm literally up to my 17th try to stealth this one mission because I'm determined. I
hated that on last year's.
Oh, it's not a great campaign, but in no way could you give this a 4. I'm just absolutely stunned that IGN would give it a 4. So, Blue, I know you've played quite a bit, right? So where are you sort of sitting with? I think you're a few missions in. Where are you sitting with it? Because I mean, there's those opening missions are actually some of the worst, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. So, what I do Call of Duty's been a weird thing for me. I wasn't really that big of a Call of Duty player, and then the last few years I've become like obsessed with Call of Duty. It's really weird. Modern Warfare 2, I spent it's an embarrassing amount of hours. I'm like level 702 or something in the multiplayer. But what I do kind of appreciate is that the campaign, what they've done with Modern Warfare 2 is they take the map from the story in the campaign, and then they take pieces of it, right? And they build Warzone and DMZ and Resurgence off of that. And I like that idea because, as a player, if you've played the campaign, you go to into Warzone and you're kind of in the same thing, and there is a connectivity there, but it should go that way, not the other way around. And it's weird because in the second mission, you wake up and you stand up and there's all these loot boxes all of a sudden. There's supply boxes, there's armor plates, there's all of the stuff that you would get in Warzone. And you go around and you loot these different boxes. And actually that second mission has, if you go to the pause menu, you'll see there's a counter for you to find out of 21. There's things that you can find in this mission. So I'm not sure how that's going to relay to everything else, but you're supposed to find all of these guns and items and things like that. But then there's also loadout boxes. And I'm like, I have no loadouts. This is a campaign. What are you talking about? Right? So it clearly looks like they have the new Warzone map set up. They just plopped out and said, well, let's build a little story into this and kick it over here and whatever, right? It's clearly DLC because it is a little bit shorter. Although, to be fair to Call of Duty, their campaigns are not long.
No.
Anyway, they're, 5-6 hours usually, right?
Yeah.
They're saying this one clocks in at 3 to 4. Fine, right? But it's DLC. And we weren't even supposed to have a Call of Duty this year. They were supposed to do a story expansion, which is exactly what they're doing, except they're relabeling it with a $70 price tag as a new game, which is kind of bogus. I think they should have done this at like a 50. It should have been $50
Mm-hmm.
or $40, right? As an expansion. And they even have it in the shell of Modern Warfare 2, right? The actual game isn't even its own tile subset. It's within this shell of Modern Warfare. It's silly. I don't.
And even the
but
achievements,
it is like
achievements are all inside the Modern Warfare 2. It's all like tied in together. It's 110% DLC, right? 110% DLC.
Blatantly. But the thing that Call of Duty does, that I would argue they are almost the best graphics in the industry. It's so good. It's so pretty, and the gunplay is always spot on. I don't know.
Yeah, so I mean, like it. So what? Okay, so you've played a couple of missions. It's really early to give a score, so to ask you to score it is unfair. But I'm going to be completely unfair. Like, if you were to score this game now, where would you be sitting?
Probably a 6.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really attractive. It plays well. I've had no performance issues. So really, it just comes down to, is the content good enough, right? So, and I can't say that yet.
No. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. So I think I'm 5 or 6 missions in. So I've done a couple of linear missions, and there's no. So in 2019, there was a couple of really crazy missions that was just bang on, that made you wow. Like one of the ones, I can't remember the name of it, was when you were at the start of the game, when you went into the house, it was all like night vision, and you were like going up the stairs and doing full breaches into different rooms, and then there's a lady that picks up a baby. Pretty shocking, right? You have those shocking moments, and that this has none of that. The linear missions do have set pieces, but nothing that sort of moves the needle or tries to do anything different, or tries to do anything at least as big as Modern Warfare 3, the original. So yeah, to my mind, a 6 is like bang on where it is, but a 4, I mean, come on. Like, it's really hard for me to like, I want to shift away from, I've been trying to mentally shift away from this, there's a bias in the media towards Xbox, but every time I'm trying to shift away from that mindset, something like this happens, and I'm like, come on, man. Like, how are you giving Quantum Error 5 And and Modern Warfare is a 4? Okay.
Was it
Yeah,
was
Force
was it
is a
Redfall
bad
4?
game.
Wasn't Redfall a 4?
Ooh. I thought Redfall was.
Should have been a 2.
I can't remember.
Should have been a 2. Yeah, Pete, what did
How do you give any Call of Duty game a 4? But I mean, just
Yeah,
the
they give it a
graphics
4.
alone, the gameplay alone will elevate it. I mean, 4 is strictly a bad game, so that makes absolutely no sense to me. Now, I want to quantify this. I haven't actually played a lot of the game. I just did the opening cutscene and a little bit further after that. And my goodness, the game is absolutely beautiful. But I did want to ask you guys, what's the return of Makarov like? Like, the original Modern Warfare 3 was probably one of the most anticipated games of all time. That fight in Manhattan still sticks in my mind as one of the best set pieces of, games ever. So do they do it justice? Do they do the Makarov comeback justice?
No. No, you infiltrate a prison, a
No.
gulag at the beginning to go and get Makarov out. I don't want to spoil it too much for people, so but that's what you sort of start out thinking you're doing one thing and you end up doing another thing. But yeah, it's not a big enough shock sort of set piece. Look, Umbra, is this bias? Is this what we're seeing?
I mean, it would appear that way. I'm with Holly where I feel like if you give Redfall a 4 out of 10, I just don't understand how you can give this a 4. Now, that people will obviously argue, well, it's not the same reviewer. Still, though, I think if you are a fair and competent reviewer, there's no way you can say a game that is mechanically sound, visually gorgeous and stunning as this game is. I've already seen that. Now I'm downloading it now just to have it ready, but that thing is 240 plus gigabytes. But so maybe that's why they gave it such a low score, because it took too long to download. I don't know, but it's like you have this rated as basically broken. A 4 to me is
broken.
Not just saying, yeah, that's like broken and mediocre when I see that. I know they might, well, 3 is that. Well, I think it's kind of indistinguishable at that point. A 4 out of 10? I just don't think that doesn't make sense to me. Mm-hmm. And I haven't played the campaign yet, but I doubt it's that bad. I felt like have you all ever played Call of Duty Ghosts?
Yeah.
I did. Yeah.
I hated Ghost. I despised it, but even that I wouldn't give a 4 out of 10. I thought it was at least a 5 or a 6 just based off the campaign. I thought it was trash. And like to make this weird Hollywood kind of movie kind of thing they did. And there we go again with the background. But
when the dog
other than
gets
that,
shot in that game, it definitely dropped 2 points to me. Can't stand that.
Oh, look at you. He like, oh, you killed Doggo, minus 2 points. But no, like, no, but I felt like even that I think that was a low point in the series for me. But like, I don't think you can go lower than that. So I doubt highly that this game, which is patented off, if I'm not mistaken, Modern Warfare 2, right? The classic one.
Mm-hmm.
I doubt it could be that bad that it's a 4 out of 10. I feel like it's a bit of the Xbox tax, personally.
It just doesn't make any sense. It does not make any sense to me at all. Like, I can't make this score make sense. I can't, like, I know that scores are subjective. Like, we all know it's a subjective thing, someone's opinion. But again, like you said, a 4 is a broken, unfinished game.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. Cole, do you feel like this is an issue with the process at IGN with their reviews, or do you feel like there's definitely some bias happening?
People were pointing out that this person that reviewed Call of Duty has mostly only PlayStation centric reviews on their username or under their profile.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really subscribe to that ideal, but I have also felt for a long time over the past 15 years that anything under a 5 is slightly or just unplayable, Mm-hmm. Like even Redfall, as much as I didn't like it, I gave it a 65 out of 100, because it played, it just didn't do anything great. And like this Call of Duty game, obviously from what I'm hearing, doesn't have play or performance or broken missions. Like a game can be just like maybe not inspired, and then you'd give it a 6 or a 5. But everybody's numbers are different. People are flipping out about this 4 out of 10, and this game's just not going to have a good score. But I really think that a 4 or lower means the game is just, you just can't really play it. It just doesn't work, or it just, I don't know. I remember there was a game called Amy like 12 years ago that it was like one of the lowest scores of the day back then. And it was scored low because it sucked, it was boring, and it was broken. Like, you couldn't really play it. It was constantly not working.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets this emblazoned 4, and then I see a game like this, and I'm like, I can understand this going to get a bad score, but why are you giving it a 4? Like, are you not able to finish missions because it just doesn't work? I don't know. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I think if you go
Colin,
on,
you're absolutely right. Redfall did get a 4, but I just want to say that they've given the same score to Modern Warfare 3 as they gave to Golem. And I think that
Yeah,
just
that's
says
ridiculous.
a lot right there.
I mean, Call of Duty campaigns they're not meant to be like game of the year things. They're not, you know what I mean? They're just there to like tell a story, be graphically beautiful, and really just get you into multiplayer, right? But
like a
that
Michael,
doesn't mean it deserves.
like Colt says, it's like a Michael Bay experience, and then you're into the multiplayer, right?
Right. It's.
I mean,
But
they've
of
tried.
course.
They hired oh crap, Kevin Spacey as a main character. They brought in big
Mhm.
people to play these because they want to elevate, like, this is the movie version of video games. And Holly's right. They don't ever get game of the year, ever.
Jon Snow. I know that's not his real name, but they also brought him in. But the thing too, I would add too, is like, this is just covering the single player portion, and I kind of feel like I don't like that they do that. Like, if they just judge Halo on, here's the single player campaign score, and maybe later we'll do the multiplayer at some point. I feel like just give us a total package, because if you have a 4 here, are you going to average that out later once you do the multiplayer? I don't know how they're going to handle that. So that's my thing. Like, for me, Halo is a complete package. You're going to judge it off of the multiplayer and the campaign and get a total kind of consensus. And that's why people were like, well, Halo was unfinished at the beginning, but it still got an 80 or such and such. Halo absolutely deserved the 80, 88 or whatever it got at launch, because Halo was a great game at launch. It's just, they didn't have content after the fact. So I feel like, why are you just reviewing the campaign? When I see that, to me, it speaks to agenda a little bit. Like, oh, let's give this spicy take on a really big release, instead of waiting until we can give you a full nuanced thought with it and the multiplayer suite. That's the way I look at it.
Well, I think you make it sort of a good point, right? Because if they're splitting it up that's obviously going to be split up into 3 segments, right? So you're going to have your campaign, you do a review on that, then you have your multiplayer, do a review on that, and then you might have an aggregate of the 2, right? But we had Tie Guy Travis on from IGN, and the conversation sort of went to, well, why can't we have an aggregated score where you have 4 people play the game, review the game, and then you aggregate the scores, and then you get a more even-handed, fair score. And he said that's just not possible. We can't do that for every game. But it seems that they are doing it in a different sort of a way with this game, because they're still having 3 different reviewers review this game. So
true.
So then, why can't they do it? They're doing it here, and for what purpose? I mean, obviously for clicks, but yeah, I mean, in my the way I haven't finished the game. 6 is where I'm landed with this thing. It's not great. It's a bad campaign. But everything is what you would expect from Call of Duty when it comes to mechanics, performance, graphically, your set piece stuff. It's COD, right? It's just not the best of COD. So I don't want to stick on this for too long, and I definitely want to get to the next.
Crazy thing is, Riskit, is when Starfield came out and they gave it a 7 and they said, well, that's still a good game. Well, this 4 is a bad game going off their reviews, and one to stay away from. And I just... Will it affect sales? I don't think it will.
Nah.
At all. I don't know why this has been laid at the feet of Xbox, and it's just, I don't know. The bias is getting completely out of hand.
Yeah, I don't think that the score will affect sales at all. But we'll ask the chat. It's a great idea that I just came up with, asking the chat, doing a poll for For that. Now it's Pete. We'll move on to the next. We'll move on to the next topic though. Before I hit that poll up, so I can. I'm stalling. But before I do, please hit the like button. If you're new here, subscribe. We go live 8 p.m. EST every Friday. That'll change next week, or I think tomorrow, to 7 p.m. EST. I hope I got that right, because I think you wind the clocks back, right, not forwards. I'm hoping. And next topic, it's been a banger of a year. Before all this Modern Warfare stuff happened, it's been an absolute banger of a year. So much so I put a list of games that I think may actually end up getting Game of the Year in our topics list. And I missed a couple of crucial games that I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that game. And they were banger games. I think the game I forgot was Jedi Survivor, right? And how do you forget Jedi Survivor? That was a brilliant game. Yeah, sure, it was broken, had issues and all that stuff. It was a brilliant game. I love the game.
On Xbox, it was much better than what it was on PC.
That's true. That's true. But like, how many great games we had? The list that I had was Alan Wake 2, Mario Wonder, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Baldur's Gate 3, Diablo 4, Spider-Man 2, Dead Space, RE4. Then you've got Jedi Survivor. What else?
Hogwarts Legacy.
Hogwarts Legacy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What? Just an absolute ridiculous year. This is crazy.
Do you think it's better than 2007?
Yes.
It's pushing up there, really, really close to it now.
It's the best game. It's the best year in gaming. 110%. I stand
Halo
by that
3,
comment.
Mass Effect. I think it was Assassin's Creed 2.
Tough to
Orange
say.
Box. It's tough. It's definitely up there as one of the best games of gaming we've ever had.
Doesn't hold a candle to 2023. I think
It's tough because we had Super Mario Galaxy, BioShock, Call of Duty 4, Crysis, Assassin's Creed, like Pete said. You had Uncharted. You had Rock Band, which me and my family still love. We had Halo 3, like Pete pointed out. You had The Darkness. You had The Witcher. You had God of War 2. You had Guitar Hero 3. You had Mass Effect. Yeah, you had Stalker. It's tough, man. It's really tough to say. Hell, you even had a Harry Potter game back then, funny enough, and I won this year with the Hogwarts. So, hell, even Heavenly Sword, funny enough, came out that year. It was a crazy good year. It's hard to really say. I would say they're running neck and neck if you look at the two. I think, though, that because of the nostalgia and love we have for that year and for like Halo, because Halo 3 is my favorite in the series. So it's kind of hard for me to be like, this year's better. Nah, it's kind of tough. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and rose-colored glasses, but brother, in all honesty. Yeah,
absolutely.
But I think you're right, Umbra. I would still put 2007 above there. I remember the hype for Halo 3 when it came out. I mean, there were buses, trams, scrolling with Halo all over there. You know, that Finish the Fight moniker that was just absolutely everywhere. I think the best franchise ever in gaming, Mass Effect, started that year. And so, I don't know, you combine those two to me, and I don't think anything.
I think you're, rose-colored glasses, and you're old manning it right now. 2007 was the year I tied an onion to my belt, and it was absolutely fantastic year in gaming.
I just got disconnected. That was not me. I got disconnected. That was.
I heard it. I was like, why did he make that noise in my ear? But okay, there we go.
Yeah. Look. Whether it's better than 2007, there's no doubt this is one of the best years we've ever had. So I wanted to go around and just sort of round up what everyone thinks or where we think we're going to be at with Game of the Year. And I'll probably go to Colt. And Colt, I don't know if you've had a chance to play Alan Wake 2. I think you were just starting. I've seen you playing it. I think you've just sort of started it, right? You're a few hours in. So you've got a good rough idea. Like, I think Alan Wake 2 is like rounding off that year of the games that are very likely to make it in. Where are you at? Who do you think? What games are going to be in there?
Oh, hold on, are you asking me what I think is going to be Game of the Year, or what I think of Alan Wake 2?
What do you think? Well, Alan Wake 2, and what do you think is going to make it in? Give us it all.
Yeah, Alan Wake 2 it's pretty good. I'm getting tired of being lost. I'm in like the
Forest?
second full place, and I'm tired of like figuring out where I'm supposed to go. Hold on, I'm trying to go to my list here. The Game of the Year thing is tough, and I know people are really hoping that Starfield makes it. The problem is there's only 6 slots, And so Mag and I were talking on my podcast about what we think will be in there. And I'm basically thinking it's going to be Tears of the Kingdom, Baldur's Gate 3, Super Mario Wonder, Spider-Man 2, Alan Wake 2, and maybe Starfield. But I just feel like the games media and industry reviewers just don't love Starfield like everybody else that played it did. If I know it's tough to say. That's just how I feel. But I think Starfield is a toss-up between bringing Hogwarts in the listing, or I'm trying to think of what else would be in the spot of Starfield. I guess that's just where I would put my expectations for the games right at this point.
So you don't think we're gonna see Starfield in there? That's
I mean, I think it deserves to be in there, but when you're looking at 6 slots, Tears of the Kingdom, Baldur's Gate 3, and Alan Wake 2 are 3 out of 6 that I think absolutely will be there without question.
Mhm.
Will Super Mario Wonder be in there? I don't
Yes.
like. Yes, I mean it's really great. There's been like, what other games need to be in there? Like, is Spider-Man 2 going to be there? Probably. So that leaves room for Starfield, unless what game is going to kick Starfield out? Hogwarts?
Yeah, Hogwarts.
Diablo? I don't
maybe.
think Diablo's going to.
I don't think
Mm-mm.
Diablo will. No. Yeah.
So what's
What
going to
about
kick
the RE4
Starfield out?
remake?
Yeah,
Typically, I
I think
wouldn't-
that's what.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I think you're right. I think Resident Evil 4 remake could take Starfield's spot.
Oh, I hope that doesn't
It's-
happen. Even though I
I
love that
typically would-
game, it's a remake. Sorry, Holly.
No,
yeah.
no, it's the exact same point. I would never usually advocate for a remake to take a Game of the Year contender spot, but it was really good, right?
Especially in this
Yeah.
day and age, with
Mm.
just the lack of new IPs and the scope of Starfield, I just think elevates it. The use of procedural generation. They were trying something new, and they really did try and hit those feels in the story as well. And everyone that played Starfield, literally has hundreds of hours in it. I think that says a lot.
yeah, but it's not the gamers that sort of pick it. It's always going to be the media, right? But here's the thing with Resident Evil 4 that I have an issue with, because it's in there for me 110% as a game that probably should be nominated, but then it then loses. It should be nominated because it's a remake, right? But if that should be nominated, then Dead Space should 110% also be nominated, because I don't think that you can.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, that's true.
You can't really separate those two. They're both, one's in space, one's obviously on Earth. But they're both horror games, both really good mechanically, both great jobs of remastering, both stunning, like flawless performance-wise, both of them as well. I mean, how do you separate those two? If you're putting in RE4, you've got to put in Dead Space, right?
You forgot another one. What about Sea of Stars? Everybody's loving that
Yep.
one.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's another one.
Yeah. And so does that get Indie Game of the Year, or does it actually, like, they usually reserve a spot for an indie game in the Game of the
Yeah.
Year contenders. So
That's right.
Cocoon should be in
Oh.
there. Yeah.
Which one?
Cocoon.
Cocoon.
Cocoon?
It was so
Yeah.
I
good.
already finished that game. That was so easy. It took me like an hour.
Shut up, Pete. You haven't even made it 2 hours in.
Yeah, I don't think he's even finished.
You
the
also have to remember that the jury panel will want to have a wide net of what represents
Mhm.
2023. And if you have like 3 blockbuster games, a surprise really great game from a medium-sized studio like Lorraine Studios, and then an indie game like Sea of Stars, like, which represents gaming is not just this one cookie cutter thing.
Mhm.
And so Sea of Stars could kick out the possibility of Starfield. And the only reason why I say Starfield is either in or out is because we all know full well that Starfield did not get its flowers from the mainstream games review media. Like, a lot of people gave it some 9s, but most people were like, it didn't do everything that, and I feel the same, that Starfield did. There's things that Starfield blatantly did not do that they should have done, that is in the hallmark of a Bethesda game, to give it up there to where it's just like, I can't stop. This game is unstoppable.
Mm.
So
Yeah, I mean, it
And
was.
Starfield had issues. Starfield has some issues too. It had a lot of crashes and other
I don't know. They don't normally ding them for that, Blue, like for like crashes or bugs, which they didn't have a lot of, but they do ding a game for not having proper pacing. I did one major faction side quest that I absolutely hated. I won't say because I know people really loved it, but the whole time, like, I'm not enjoying this at all, and I wish I never started this, and I wish they never made this whole faction mission. And then one of the biggest, everyone's favorite faction mission, the very end, I was so frustrated, I almost like jumped in my swimming pool after I was done on a hot day because I was just like, I can't do this anymore, and I stopped playing Starfield for the day. I was so frustrated. So, I feel like Starfield is going to be, it's going to be teetering on the edge whether it'll belong in there.
I kind of agree there, but I feel like because it's such a major release that it might be included because of that, but possibly snubbed as far as winning at the end of the day. And for me and Risk, look, I think I think you too, Pete. I think we all landed at kind of like an 8.5, right?
Yeah.
For Starfield.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's unfair if it doesn't win Game of the Year. But still, I would say it's still overall my Game of the Year personally. But I can't be mad if anybody says, hey, I thought, Sea of Stars, or I thought Zelda, or I thought Mario was better. I can't get mad at that either. So it's going to be a tough one.
You might want to go on mute. I think they're going to be banging on the door any minute.
Already did.
Open up. Yeah, look, I think it's fair. I think it would be fair to leave Starfield out. Not any other year, but I know that the people are going to absolutely lose their minds, right? Where if Starfield doesn't make it in, there's going to be bias. But I really think in this year, it wouldn't be biased if Starfield doesn't make it in. And for the reasons that Colt was saying there, I sort of the same sort of thing. I love the game, but there was just a few sort of pacing issues. And I think the planets like help overpace that game out because you land somewhere, right? Now I got to run for 5 minutes. Cool. Now I'm at a spot where I can actually do something. And that's just on planets that have a mission. So, and then there's plenty of planets where if you're farming resources, that's not my style of thing. And I guess some people enjoy that, but I really didn't.
They could have made it. It just wasn't satisfying.
Yeah.
They could have made it satisfying. I feel like it wasn't. Like there was times when I first started scanning planets, I was like, oh, this is kind of chill. And then it was so tedious. You had to get your nose up to a plant to scan it. And then my friend says, you got to level everything up so you can scan further away. I'm like, but if I'm almost like a stone's throw away, like I should be able to, if I can see it, if I'm fully upgraded, if I can see it, I can scan it. But it just got really irritating go around this empty areas trying to scan critters and plants. And some of that stuff just feel really.
My scan up to 30 meters, Colt, and that made the world of difference. It really
Yeah,
did. And I know that
you shouldn't have to upgrade. I agree.
That is true, but
it's a long grind to be able to do that, and it still wasn't enough for me.
Yeah.
But
and there's so much things that you want to put points into that I get why people didn't do that. I did personally because when I got sick of shooting stuff or going off in a mission, I would love just exploring the planets. It was soothing, just looking at the background. It was underrated, the beauty of that game, like looking in the planets in the distance, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah,
for me with Starfield is I agree with you on that, Pete. I loved all of that. I loved a lot of Starfield, honestly. To me, again, it's still my game of the year. But what I will say is that they definitely, and I've said this before, I think they need to modernize their approach to gaming, Bethesda, because if you look at it,
wait for it,
and I
here
made
it comes.
I made
Starts
this
with
point
an
where
I.
Unreal 5. So, no.
Well, hey, I've already made that argument many times, but I don't even have a problem with them sticking to the engine they have if they fix some things about it. But I feel like you look at how they approach gaming, and I think we've moved further up. They still have kind of an old school approach.
They do.
They don't have cuts. They don't have cut scenes and stuff like that. Like, and some people might be like, well, that's fine. Okay, maybe. But I think when you have such a big space opera kind of thing like this, you look at something in it comparable in its field or somewhat comparable in like maybe Mass Effect, and you see these gorgeous big set pieces and and things like that that really bring you into that universe. And then you look at Starfield, where you don't have that at all. And like there's one moment where you get a cutscene, and that's with the that beast. What's the name of that damn thing that you see? That's the only cutscene in the game.
Terramorph?
The Terramorph. That's the only cutscene, and it actually stood out because it was like so like good, that mission, where you felt like a horror movie or something in that moment, right? Where you're fighting it and trying to track it down and set up all these automated guns and things like that to hurt it. I think stuff like that is where they have to update. Even also when you talk with people and it just zooms into their face and they're just like, oh, yes, I don't like that you did this thing or something. It's like, okay, that's a little outdated. And also too with the facial animations and things like that, they have to get to the mocap. They have some things about what they do in their approach that are outdated. That's what I would say.
I don't think they need to change, but like I understand 100% what you're saying, but that's just the Bethesda game. Not everybody needs to move on. They want the player to never have that choice taken away from them. They always want you to feel connected to the world, and that's just the way they go about it. And I think it's a lot of the reason why they use the creation engine as well, like, with the level of detail and the draw distance and all the benefits you do get from creation engine. That didn't particularly bother me. What bothered me is the...
hang on a minute, because I just want to address something that you said. That do you think that they succeeded in at least the illusion of giving player the agency that they
Yes,
liked?
Yes, I do. I definitely do. Now, I would need to play the game again to see if the decisions that I made actually impact gameplay as much as the illusion that they are impacting gameplay, and I haven't done that. So until I do that, I won't actually know for sure. But in saying that, I do. I think that agency was there, and I think it stood out. And although
I'll be
they
honest
didn't
with
have
you,
the
Pete.
cutscenes,
I
I
don't
don't
think
want
it
to like
was.
give anything away. But there was one scene where, a choice made had massive impact on the game, and it really, really was a heartfelt moment.
Yeah, well,
And I got to commend them on that.
that highlights it, and I'm going to agree with Umbra here. I think that highlights the stark difference between all the other choices that you made in the game. Because there was times, obviously, when I had to do a reload, or I wanted to check and see if any of these decisions that I'd made in a conversation had actually affected anything, and they don't. In for a large part of the game, obviously, in some specific story cases they do, but I don't think they really succeeded at doing what they do best, which is the illusion of giving the player that choice to go sort of do things. So you could choose to not play the story missions and just go out and sort of do your own thing. And I guess that's always there in a Bethesda game, but I don't feel like the choices had impact on your main story as much as they could have. Yeah.
I 100% agree. I was actually a little surprised by how little what we did really, really mattered. They'll give you the illusion of it. Like, for instance, with the Terramorph situation. And once you get to the end of that, how do you want to approach this? But you don't really see that. You don't see that come to fruition. You don't know how that. You just make a choice. You know what I mean? Now, there's some things they do well, but I think they're just outdated. And I know, like, the old thing, well, that's Bethesda, but I don't think that's really a worthwhile excuse to not, advance in how they approach things. I don't think that's fair to say, because, like, if I could use that excuse for any game and say, well, that's just Nintendo. They don't have to.
They're saying that right now with Activision and Call of Duty. Well, that's just, I've seen a lot of it. That's just Call of Duty. That's how Call of Duty's been for years. They're saying the same type of excuse. And I think Bethesda should be pushing above and beyond. And when I'm, as amazing as how much I love Starfield, 200 hours in that darn game, and I really liked it, 200 plus. There were so many times where I'm like, man, Mass Effect Trilogy did this so much better, or did that so much better. I'm like, Mass Effect Andromeda did this so much better than Starfield did. And then you even go, man, Fallout and Skyrim did this better than Starfield did. And there, we had a certain expectation that going through Bethesda, and I've done a lot of Bethesda research lately, especially with a video out lately about Fallout, but Fallout 3 was amazing. And then Skyrim was like, oh my gosh, like they went up this certain step, like they skipped 2 steps on the staircase. and blew our minds. And then Fallout 4 came out, and they went up another step in visuals and gameplay feel and choice. And then I expected a certain step from Starfield, and I feel like a lot of ways we did get them that skip step. But then there's all these times where I'm like, you did just well enough in some areas. And I mean, I think I gave the game way after the fact, so people couldn't use a number to weaponize because how ridiculous they are. In the end, I give the game a high 80, like an 88 or something.
You
I
were close
freaking
to
loved
us.
it.
Yeah, same. And we were 85. So like, well, I think we're kind of in unison there. And I don't think we're being unfair when we say certain things need to advance. Like, again, you point out the Mass Effect, and that's exactly, and I honestly believe that's where most of our minds went. Like, well, Mass Effect did this thing though. Like, couldn't you all have done this? You don't have a rover on a planet. Couldn't you have done that? Like, that was one of my first questions.
Sure.
Like, do we have a planet rover? I think it's just outdated.
Do you remember the rover
ways
in
they approach
number
it.
one, but in Mass Effect
It
1, that
sucked.
thing was
It
terrible,
sucked.
bro.
It did. It sucked.
Terrible, bro.
It
But they
did,
had it.
But like, they did have it though, right? And like, and I think at this point, that was what, 2007. So 2023, I feel like Bethesda could have adopted that and made it way better, right? So that's my thinking. I just think they're outdated in their approach to how they do things. And I'm not saying they need to change every single facet about how they make games. I just think they need to modernize their approach in certain things.
Agreed. And games
the thing
aren't
with me
released
when it comes.
but games aren't released in a vacuum. Like, so, you know, any game that comes out, whether it's fair or it's not fair, is going to have those comparisons drawn against it. And when it's missing, just, I guess what we would, I mean, it's never simple to put something into a game. You know, developers, anything that you're putting into a game is always going to be difficult. It's always a hard thing to do. But when it's missing just simple little things, you know, with its inventory management, with like you said, the rover, you know, the loading screens. I mean, here's a simple example. Like, you have your takeoff animation, then a loading screen. Why would you not just have a full takeoff animation all the way through as your loading screen? Just simple little things.
The loading
like that
screens are like
to give connectivity.
The loading screens are like 8 seconds. Just have your ship go off into the distance and pan up and look at the sky and cover up the loading screen, and then no one would have complained.
Exactly. Yeah.
I love those. I love those takeoff. Well, I would watch your. This isn't a Starfield review podcast. Gosh dang it! But I would. My fake Colt Eastwood would sit in that chair, pull that console up, push the buttons, and it never got old. And then the thrusters would go up, and I'm like, oh, it's so amazing. And everyone's like, but the loading screens, and I wasn't even thinking about the loading screens during review period. People got mad at me, like, why didn't you call it the loading screens? Like, I don't know. I just liked watching those animations and the fade to black, and I didn't think about the cohesive, like the connectivity with that. And of course, and then
It's
when I
funny you
came
say
back
that.
to. Did you feel the same?
I felt the same, and I talked with dealer Rand about that, and he was like, "All the cutscenes." I'm like, "Yeah, but those cutscenes are like 8 seconds, if that much at times." It's like it's not really that much of a distraction.
When you're
think the way
playing a
they approached
200
it-
plus hour game, those start
got
to
to me.
get super.
Well, I put in
tedious.
300
Yeah.
plus
Yeah.
hours, and I still didn't feel. I still felt the same way. I still I put in 300. I got to be at 340.
Like,
And
just
I
the
still felt that
undocking
didn't bother
thing.
me.
The undocking one drove me nuts. I was like, oh, I got to undock before I can fast travel somewhere. Are you kidding me?
That
Like,
was so
That I-
silly,
that I didn't like.
Well,
I
that's like
controlled
leaving the
up
gas
around
station without taking the fuel pump out.
right,
I think
right,
even-
right.
I think the inventory management.
I went to fill up. I went to
as
fill up my
well.
tire at the at the service station today, and they came out and they put the air hose up to my tire, and he started to walk away, and I go, "Oh, cool, thank you so much." He goes, "No, it's still filling." Because when I fill up a tire, I'm holding it there and keeping pressure on the valve, and I would have like drove off and pulled the cord with me, but yeah.
People
Make sure you undock, Hull.
hang on a minute. People fill up your tires with air in America. You don't got to do it
No.
yourself.
No,
was
I
like-
went to the place where I have my oil changed, and they said, "Hey, do you want us to do that for you?" Yeah, yeah, that does sound funny when I said
Because
it.
I was just thinking, like, you know, do they rake the like, you know, the ground as you
Well-
drive out? Like, you know, there's like 3 people come out and
There's
just rake it
still-
nice and clean again. You know, they give you a polish
There's
as you
still,
clean up the window.
Wait, there's still like 2 states in the U.S. that require someone to pump your gas for you.
Yeah,
instead of
Oregon
you
just
doing it.
finally got rid of it
Yep.
after
They did?
500 years. Yeah,
They
Oregon
did? That drove me nuts.
yeah, like this year, I think. Yeah, we go to Oregon and they're like, get back in your car.
Yes.
It's funny
I
though
felt
because
when I went to Oregon.
yeah. Go ahead, Holly. I'm sorry.
No, I went there for like a week and I like get out to pump the gas and they're like, no. And I'm like, I feel really uncomfortable with this situation. And
You're
I'm like, I can
"Ma'am,
pump my own gas. I'm
we feel
okay.
uncomfortable.
Like
Get back in your car."
like,
No, it's funny because I talked with somebody who lived out in Oregon, and that's what they told me. I'm like, "What? You can't pump your own gas?" They're like, "Nope." I'm like, "What?" So yeah, that's pretty odd. So they got rid of that though. That's interesting.
It's pretty
They finally
weird.
changed that.
Sort of bringing it back though, because I know we went off on a bit of a tangent. Then there's a game that we've missed, like Jedi Survivor. Does that game end up in the conversation? That was a great game.
It's game of the year
should
for
be.
me. It's my game of the year, but look, my name's JediKnightPeter. I'm incredibly biased when it comes to this, but the lightsaber combat, the planets, the different missions you can do, the different bosses you can fight, that one scene, Umbra, you know which one I'm talking about, with that drop.
Yes,
Your
sir.
jaw drops. It was. I
Man.
got goosebumps. in
Made you
that
feel like a
scene.
kid
I
again,
haven't-
didn't it, Pete?
Yeah, I don't get goosebumps that often. That game gave me goosebumps. I love everything about that game, from the story to the combat to the looks, just amazing. And 9.5 out of 10 for me.
Even with the bugs?
Yeah, even with the bugs, because when it comes to a game that good for me, I will look past it. I won't let that influence
Deter you.
my enjoyment
Yeah.
of the game, because it wasn't enough to impact the enjoyment of the game.
Yeah.
And I'm with Pete on that, right? Like Spider-Man had a ton of them, had a ton of bugs. Like the game crashed on me 5 times, but I still came to a 9. Now I'm replaying it and I'm coming to an 8.5 because the side missions suck and I hate the MJ mission stuff, right? But in general, the bugs didn't really take away from me. Same thing with Starfield. I felt the exact same way as Pete, but I came to a 9 out of 10. And it did have bugs and things like that, and issues, and closed on me, whatever. But the game was so damn enjoyable. And those moments where you the best way I can relate to it is that you feel like a kid again. And Pete, we know exactly the moment we're talking about. I was literally screaming out loud, like "woo!" like an idiot, because it drew me in so much in the just pure joy. That game had it in spades for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was in a party when that scene was going off, and I was cheering. Like, it was amazing. I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah, but so then you're putting Spider-Man 2 in the conversation, right? As well, because that game is so if you look at it, it's an existing IP, huge IP, probably even bigger than Star Wars. Had a lot of bugs, but was an enjoyable big set piece sort of type game as well, right? So that's got to be in the conversation. It's really interesting. There's a lot of games that have that we're not in a vacuum, right? And if you can draw a line from that game to another game, I mean, I guess Hogwarts is in that conversation too, right? Because you've got 3 games with massive existing IPs: Harry Potter, Marvel, and Star Wars, all fantastic games. And I'd say Hogwarts would be the least buggy, but we can say that Spider-Man and Star Wars are extremely buggy. Really tough year to sort of pick one out and say this is going to be in. Even to put them in, like not even the game of the year question, but like to who's going to be nominated is really difficult this year. Like I've been shuffling this whole time that everyone's talking, and I've been shuffling games around on my pad, trying to figure out who's going to get in. It's really tough. It's tough. So I've come to Alan Wake 2 is probably game of the year for me. And I think that's going to be game of the year for a lot of people. And when you consider that they did that with 130 people, that game is absolutely phenomenal. And Colt, I had the same problem at the beginning, like being lost. That just sort of goes away. You start to get a feel for how the game's mapped out. You get less and less lost as you go along. Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, I haven't played, but that is obviously in the conversation. That has to be there. Baldur's Gate 3, that's your little small one that I think has definitely got to be in there. Hogwarts and
By the way,
Spider-Man.
just to add into that, before you go, Risk, just to add, that's allegedly, we might be getting that by December 6th, by the way, to Xbox, Baldur's Gate 3.
Right, yeah.
Just to throw it out there.
Yeah, allegedly, if the Series S can handle it.
Again, threw me off that game. He just did not enjoy it at all, and I trust that man's judgment on a lot of games. So I'm unsure about Baldur's Gate 3 now.
I think it's in the conversation. I think it has to be in there.
Who said they didn't enjoy it at all?
Huggy.
Oh, yeah,
Absolutely couldn't stand it. Yeah.
Interesting. I think it's definitely
It just
going to
might not be his type of. Yeah, it might not be his type of game. Maybe that's the case. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it was the rolling of the dice that got to him, and he couldn't get the outcomes that he wanted.
Well,
But I think that's part of the
It's
gameplay.
very D&D. If you don't like D&D, it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, so I think, look, this is what I've come to for my sort of picks that are I think are just going to be in there. And there's so many, and I genuinely don't think Starfield's in there, and I just want to go through everyone and just get your roughs. I mean, this is not a hardcore, definitely going to be in there. It's too hard to say this is 100% what I think it's going to be. But for me, it's Alan Wake 2 Game of the Year, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Baldur's Gate, Hogwarts, Spider-Man 2, and then that last one is the tough one. So it's either going to be Resident Evil 4, Dead Space, Sea of Stars, or Starfield. Like, out of any of those, that could be the final that makes it in. What's up, Mav? Good to see you in the chat. Colt, where are you at? Is it too tough to pick for you, or do you have an idea where you think we're going to be? I mean, I know you picked on your show, but we'll jump to Umbra quickly first, because I think Colt's...
Yeah. For me, I think the obvious picks that'll be nominated, at least, will be Baldur's Gate 3, Tears of the Kingdom, Starfield, Spider-Man 2, I think is going to be put in there. Resident Evil 4 Remake, I think is going to make it. Although I feel a little weird with the remakes and stuff being added to it for some reason, but whatever. It's essentially different. Sea of Stars, I think, will possibly make it as far as a nominee. And I think... I've heard a lot of people praise Liza P. So I can see Liza P possibly being mentioned. I'm going to go with Star Wars. Starfield, Hogwarts Legacy, Tears of the Kingdom, Baldur's Gate 3, and I need one more. I don't want to say Diablo because I don't think that'll make it.
It's tough.
Spider-Man 2.
Tough, bro.
I'll just throw in Spider-Man 2. I think Spider-Man 2 will be nominated.
Sorry.
I think it will. I think those will be the 6. I honestly do. I think those will be the 6.
All right. Now, do you think Spider-Man will be in there strictly because it's a Sony game, or do you think it's deserving of a place?
Both, because it's Sony and they're gonna, suck. Okay, let me not say that. They're gonna suck up to them a little bit, and also because I think it is a good game, worthwhile.
Is this Jeff Keighley?
Right. It's Jeff Keighley's VGAs. Yep. So I feel like it is deserving of being nominated. It's not a bad game. The game is, to me, again, like a 9, but I gave it 8.5 because I did not care for those side missions after I played it again and saw the issues with them and saw the issues with the MJ thing and certain other things. Just small little.
You played
things
it twice?
up. Yeah, I'm playing it again.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
to get a
did you
full
have Steve
review.
Stars in there, bro?
I mentioned it. And I do love Sea of Stars. However, I haven't finished it to give a full review. So
Okay,
I think
am incredibly surprised you haven't gone Hi-Fi Rush, because didn't you play that game
I
8
love
times,
Hi-Fi
bro?
Rush. You know what? I feel like there needs to be an
indie
section for Game of the Year, and I saw
There
something
is,
that alluded to that.
There is an indie section.
I mean, but is it specifically for Game of the Year?
Well, it's like indie. Yeah, there's an indie Game of the Year.
Just quickly, I'm going to jump in and say, Drake Williams, we're not forgetting Elden Ring, mate. That was last year. And that was up for Game of the Year last year. So
it won last year.
And it won.
It won last year, bro.
So,
Yeah.
we're definitely not
I
forgetting.
didn't mention
Oh, you're right on.
We're definitely not forgetting.
Right, you were spot on, Drake. Also, Final Fantasy 16, I don't think it will be nominated. I said that before.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah, I
think
don't
Final
think
Fantasy
so.
16 would be that. Armored Core, I don't think will make it. Hi-Fi Rush, you're right. I should have mentioned Hi-Fi Rush because I did love Hi-Fi Rush to death. I just don't think it'll be nominated versus what we have, like the ones I named.
Friggin'.
You know what I mean?
All right, Spriggan. All right,
That's it,
bro.
Spriggan. You said it right.
Bro, we're going to have words later. My
Don't let
gnomes
her
and my
deter you.
banana flavored candy are like off your band, sir.
Stand on the river of truth, Spriggan. You were right.
I don't know how you don't like banana flavored candy. That's we call them lollies.
they're
That's
amazing.
absolutely stunning. Yeah, it's
Green apple.
I mean, you
I
would
love Green Apple as well, bro.
you were literally fighting an entire nation. Like if you say anything bad about banana flavored lollies or pineapple flavored
Laffy
lollies,
Taffies.
New Zealand is coming after you. So it's like a whole.
Gonna be
All right,
led
well, I
by
want to quickly do mine.
revolution
and,
of,
my sixth
Panda.
game of the years before this gets totally out of control. But I want to preface this by saying I don't
Do
think these are going to get nominated. I don't care about that. I'm just doing my game. No. I'll just say mine. Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom, Jedi Survivor, Baldur's Gate, Alan Wake, Starfield, and Hogwarts Legacy. That's what I'm going to go.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. I'm going to get these and write these down after the show. Absolutely, because I just want to see where we land. But it's not a hard like, oh, you got it wrong. Well, I'll do that. I'm going to do a victory lap if I'm right. Of course I will. But I'm definitely going to get these and see what you guys think after the show, and then see where we land. It'd be really interesting to sort of see how on point we are. I guess with media. Blue, we'll jump to you, and then I'll jump back to Colt. I know, Colt, you did yours on your show as well, but I'll just get you to quickly run through yours. But Blue, what do you think? Where are you landing with what's going to get in and what's going to win?
Alan Wake 2, Mario Wonder, Baldur's Gate 3, Sea of Stars, RE4 Remake, and... Man, that sixth spot is really the hard one, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not Starfield. I'll tell you, it's not going to be Starfield.
Ban her.
Tears of the Kingdom. Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, look, I don't think Starfield did enough to get in, which is really a problem. And the day that we get the nominations.
It's a fantastic game.
Yeah.
And if it's your game of the year, it should be, because really what the Keeleys do has nothing to do with your own personal enjoyment of a game. You should just play a game and love it for what it is and not be ashamed of it. Clearly, because I sit on here and talk about Fallout 76 and get roasted all the time. And it's fine.
Yeah,
But-
I mean,
Yep.
yeah, I mean, look, Fallout 76 is different. It's complete trash. I don't think you can compare that to anything except
How dare you? I used to hate the game, and then
Yes.
one day I just fell in love with it. So yeah, really crazy.
So where are you sitting, Colt? What do you think's going to make it in? What do you think's going to be the one?
What do I think is actually going to happen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Where do you think the industry is going to land?
I think the industry is going to pick Baldur's Gate 3 because it just does so many things really well, and Tears of the Kingdom is another Breath of the Wild, and I feel like Spider-Man is another Spider-Man. So I think Baldur's Gate's going to win. Fun, just for fun. I'll tell you what my weird 6 game of the years are this year.
Yeah.
Hogwarts, Dead Island 2, Starfield, Hi-Fi Rush, Spider-Man 2, and Dead Space. I didn't like the rest of the games that everyone loved. I didn't like Street Fighter. I didn't like Diablo. I don't say this out loud much because when you don't like something, I feel like you don't need to say it very much, Yeah. That's just how, I just don't bother. I have a couple friends who you're not allowed to like something if they don't like it. But it's funny. I would put Dead Island 2 and Hogwarts way up the top for me this year. I just really enjoyed them. But my game of the year last year was Grounded, and you guys can shove it. I love that game to death. So, I mean, I don't remember what was so amazing in 2022, but I laughed, I cried, I hugged my kids. We played for 400 hours last year, and yeah. So your own personal game of the years can be really funky, but that's how it is.
Yeah, looking Grounded was like a lot of fun. We played a fair bit of Grounded. It was really fun. We built our little kingdom on the pond, which turned out to be a pretty good idea. It sort of worked out. It was either going to go really, really badly.
I'll tell you what, if Starfield had half of that ability to build, I would still be playing Starfield because there would be more I could do. Or I'd be out wandering the universe looking for stuff so I could finish my build, and they robbed me of that. I'm like, you let me do it in Fallout and 4 and 76, and I'm putting down 2 halves. That's it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Baldur's Gate 3 is going to be the industry pick, I think.
Oh, I don't know. I think wait till you get through Alan Wake. That's definitely my game of the year. I was just absolutely stunned by that game. And there is just some.
Has Remedy ever won?
No, I don't think so.
have, right?
They almost won Control.
Control, yeah.
Control,
Right.
Control one, didn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. What about Max Payne? Did Max Payne win any?
No, I don't believe it did.
Oh, because that was an amazing game. I think I heard. I think it was Gary Whitta was talking about Max Payne. He just didn't get. I don't know how you don't like Max Payne. Like he did. I think it was they called it the noir detective stuff, and I was like, wow. Like
He doesn't like 3?
he didn't like any of them. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
That's crazy, right?
I went back and played Max Payne 3 by Rockstar, and my goodness, is that game hard. I got my butt kicked. It's an amazing game. I think it's one of the completely underrated game, but it
Might be a skill issue, Pete.
it is tough. the last third of the game, you get murked a lot. Yeah, they really bear down on you. It's a beautiful game.
Definitely want to move on because we have spent an hour on those two topics alone. Before I do, I was going to go through some of these super chats. We got Red Wolf with the $2 super chat. Thank you very much, good friend of the channel. He said, Halo Firefight tonight. I hope I can join in on that one. Traditionally, I can't. I got to spend some time with the
just
family.
Quickly, go to keywords and type in Firefight, bro, and they should all come up. That's what I did yesterday.
Absolutely. Alvin with the $2 super chat. He said, should there be an indie game of the year? Cocoon, Hi-Fi, Sea of Stars, etc. Yeah, Alvin, there normally is. They normally have a sort of an indie section where they they do the best music, and God of War won that last year. I don't know how you just like re-enter the same music, but yeah, I mean they have lots of different. And I think indie is independent developer or up and coming developer or something, whatever they call it. Spartan 661 with the $4.99. Actually, before I go, that shouldn't preclude an indie game from winning game of the year. But I think in some ways it does.
Halo 1 game of the year in 2001, the year Max Payne came out.
Oh, well, that's fair. Yep. That is fair. Spartan661 with the $4.99 super chat. He says the creation engine is so unique and different from any other gaming engine. Just understand that no other engine can do what it can do. It's dated, but it's great. Yeah, I think there's some merit to that, and I think a little bit of updating can't hurt. Spriggan, with the $19.99 super chat, thank you very much. You're an absolute champion. But your comment is not going to be read out today. No, it will. He said banana flavored crimes against humanity in this chat. Yeah, look, banana flavored candy. I know you guys call it candy, is sensational. And pineapple candy, sensational. Love it. Ooh, smoothies.
I don't know about. Well,
I don't know, but pineapple's another whole other thing.
Next time we go to the Xbox Fan Fest, I'll bring some pineapple flavored candy, Colt. And
hey, I'll eat it. It's just not my favorite, but I'm not picky.
Don't do it, Colt. Don't do it, Colt. You'll instantly start growing a super beard and hair on your chest. It's not worth it.
Convinced the way that Riskit reacted to Kool-Aid that everything in Australia is bitter. There's no sweet there at all.
Yeah. Riskit had a glass of cherry Kool-Aid and took one sip, and he was like a kid eating broccoli. Yeah, it was quite a sight to see.
It was horrific.
Like, what is this? What is this?
His face just went.
Yeah, that's. I don't know how you drink that. That's sugar water with a touch of cherry in it. Like I was. Yeah. What's the opposite of when you eat something sour and your face sort of sucks in? My head exploded out. I was like, this is not cool.
Get a sugar rush.
This is not cool. Yeah, I was running around like a 3-year-old for like the next 20 minutes. It's actually a really nice place where we ate there. But anyway, moving on to the next topic.
I love that.
The Xbox controller policy. Let's skip that. Move on to the Game Pass taken away and given back again.
By the way,
I don't think so. Why? Why is it a fantastic policy? You've bought a controller. Sure, Xbox hasn't officially endorsed that controller, but you've bought a controller hoping that. Well, thinking that controller would be supported and having no reason to believe that it wouldn't. And then all of a sudden, your $70, your $100, whatever you paid for a controller, doesn't work. I mean, how is that good?
It has more to do with the add-ons that you can put on them that enable cheating. And I would think that they could hold that back a little bit when it comes to their own controller, but can't do that with other ones. And so that's why I like it. You know, the ability to stop cheating in Call of Duty, in Halo, I think will go a long way in helping those games. So that's the way I'm looking at it.
Is that the reason?
And there's probably a short list of accessories that Microsoft knows full well are responsible for exploits and cheating on very popular games. And they have software and hardware detection that detects these exploits that people use for rapid fire or for aimbots and all this stuff like that. So Microsoft's been pretty good about you're dead guilty when you get caught with this stuff. And I'm sure they have a list of the culprits, and they've decided to ban those items. They've also said that any of those items that are banned are fully usable if they're connected to an adaptive controller. So they don't want to restrict anybody for accessibility. So if you own something that does what you need for the adaptive controller plugged into the back of that, they're letting full access to that. So I guess if somebody really wanted to cheat, they have to plug it into an adaptive controller, but people don't usually go that far, but whatever. I think that's where they are.
Well, at least they'll sell some adaptive control. That's pretty cool, though. At least they're not removing, some of the accessibility features. So that's kind of cool. And we were going to talk on the Game Pass thing, but Phil gave it back to him. So, and I know that Umbra were like, meh. They don't get Game Pass, pay for it. We don't care. But I was like, we worked it out to 40.
He was ready to fight.
I was ready
That
to
was
fight.
behind the scenes. Yeah. That was behind the scenes. I didn't want everybody.
No, but Blue was the same. But I'm like, it's $45 million, Microsoft. You can't afford $45 million a year to give you guys a benefit. Like, I mean, come on. Like,
listen, they're paying them
My
well.
argument was that's how many layoffs that didn't happen.
Exactly. They're getting paid well. It's a very small thing to pay into. We pay it every year, all of us. Nobody's. I just fail to see why it's such a big thing. Like they can't pay for that. I just don't see it. Like, how dare you take this from me? It's like, nah, I don't. Sorry, bro. I'm not on your side here.
That's a very right-wing sort of view. I don't know. Like you.
Oh my god, that's not.
I blame
man.
Pete. I blame Pete. I blame Peter. I
will say this. I don't care that Microsoft employees lose it, but I think that Xbox employees should have it simply because of the word of mouth that it's going to generate. So when, you go to a dinner party or whatever and you say you work at Xbox and they say, oh, what's that? And they'll go, oh, well, check out this Game Pass thing. It's amazing. And so that will generate sales, generate talk, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but should they have to be incentivized through that, or because the service is actually worthwhile? You know what I mean? Like, shouldn't it be based off merit?
I mean,
it's not,
I feel like
not that they're getting a free service.
I feel like they work at Xbox. Yeah. Why do they need Game Pass to be like, oh, our service is wonderful, come check us out? Like, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, but I don't know. Like where I work, I have to live in a certain county because I work for the government, and I literally have to pay my own salary through my taxes, right? Because that's a requirement for my job. So I don't see what $16 or $17 a month for an employee at a place where they probably have a free cafeteria. They probably have.
Don't you start this free cafeteria thing again.
Go through all of the amenities that are on the campus, which is wonderful.
I want that.
Microsoft is literally right. That's worth way more than $17 a month for Game Pass.
We have grandma's cookies in a honesty jar or whatever they call that thing. The honor system jar. That's all we have.
It's just
the jar would be empty if I worked there.
Yeah, I know. You didn't give me a raise last year. These cookies are free.
These cookies are mine. I'm taking them. I'm walking out with the whole thing.
Look, he'll lose his mind though.
So if you work in a restaurant, right? I'm gonna mag it out for like, hey, listen, people, right? You work in a I'm gonna mag it out for a little bit, right? So if you work in a restaurant, right? So there's restaurants that'll like give you your meal for free on your break, right? And they should. It should be a benefit. There should be perks of the job, right? And I think Game Pass is that meal for free. Like, I think you should have these little perks, and I think the more and more that these little that corporations, big bad Microsoft or all corporations start to take away these perks, I don't know. I feel like as workers we lose something. I'm always sort of looking at it from the workers' point of view, and I think 45 million a year for a multi-trillion-dollar company is not going to break the bank, right? Where's that money
That won't
going?
break the bank, but that is a lot of money
Microsoft.
right there.
Not for
I don't
Microsoft.
think someone working in accounts for Microsoft needs Game Pass. I think someone working in Xbox definitely benefits from having
Well,
Game
you know
Pass.
what? It doesn't matter because Phil reversed the entire thing.
He sure did.
I feel like that's unfair to accountants. What about the accountants that do game? And maybe is there anyone in the chat who's an accountant that feels offended by Pete's comment? Please let us know.
Yodani commented, and he said he used to work as the temp employee for Microsoft, and they gave away free phones and Surfaces to full timers. He said it adds up, and I agree. Like it's 45 million, sure, but that's nothing to sneeze at. It sounds crazy to say it out loud, but of course it doesn't hurt Microsoft, but it will add up over time. And imagine years of that a year, 45 million a year, or whatever it is, where they versus them actually charging people a smaller fee. They can give them a discounted price for it that they won't give us. Why not something like? I don't think that's wrong personally, and I kind of have a hard time being like, oh, why did they take that away from them? I'm sorry, I don't care that you all got that taken away from you, even though you got it back.
Bro.
Does the baby want his Game Pass? Huh?
You're right. You want to play your free games, even though you make probably 6 figures a year? Get out of here.
I think of like those 230,000 Microsoft employees, and probably only 10,000 actually use that Game Pass that they get every year.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Right.
But it doesn't matter how many people are using it. It doesn't take away from the overall value of what they put into the Game Pass thing. But when I heard how many employees there are that have access to it, I'm like, man, they're not even really using it. Like, if they send them a code, send it over to those in need.
Right.
Yeah.
Give it to
Janice
us.
that does Microsoft Excel or whatever, runs the Microsoft Windows or whatever. Janice isn't using it, so send it over to my buddy Red Wolf. He needs Game Pass Ultimate for a year.
There you go, folks. See, there you go. Give it to us who are in the
needy
making game. That exactly. And I'm needy. Give it to me, Microsoft.
All they had to do was put in an application system. Like, okay, we're going to take it away from everyone just automatically. But if you want it, please go into this internal website, whatever, and just put your name in and we'll reactivate your account. And that would have taken care of a bulk of it. Like Colt said, it's probably 10 to 15% of their entire workforce, maybe.
What do you lose if you take it away, though, right? What do you lose?
Because they have to budget for it. And they just added 20,000 employees from Activision, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I'm sure
true.
some of those are going to be cut eventually, by the way. But yeah, my thing is, even if they did the way you're saying it, right? I hope not too, but I know it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Just the reality of it, but because there's going to be some redundancies, right? But my thing is, though, even if they did that, Holly, and the people had to go through that measure, people would do that. I would do that even if I wasn't using it because it's free. Like, I'll get this free thing. I'll do that because I want this extra thing, even if I don't use it that way. I believe people would do that.
I'm going to jump in here and quickly. Colt's got to bail out. It's great to have you coming through, man. I really appreciate you jumping in, giving us your takes. Let people know where they can find you. I'm pretty sure that everyone does know, but let them know where they can find you.
You can find me on Riskit for the Biscuits podcast, Xbox Infinite. No, I mean, there's so many podcasts. You guys know this as veteran podcasters, the podcast scene has so many people, and we have a big connected community. And you guys, I love listening to your show. I really do. I don't know why I like listening to Riskit. I'm still trying to figure that out, but I consider you guys all friends. We've all been Umbra and Pete and Holly. We've all been hanging out far too long on Xbox Live, and I really appreciate the chat as well. They're all friends. I recognize everybody's name there. So thanks for having me on, and you guys have a great weekend, and play Alan Wake 2 with the lights on, would you?
Oh, yeah.
Are you jumping in Halo today, mate?
Am I what? Halo?
Halo
I need to eat some food, and then I want to play Halo Firefight with you guys later on. Yeah.
All right. brother.
Yeah.
You know, I was going to ask you, Colt, did you happen to scream at one point playing Alan Wake like you did with Resident Evil 7?
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh. Early on when you're going through the forest and like a jump scare, like memory like flashes in front, I was sitting on my couch and go, "Ah!"
I remember
And then
when you posted that
sometimes-
clip way back on Resident Evil. It's like you were like,
Oh my
Like,
gosh,
damn.
you got Dars Knight and Dealer on the mic laughing
Just
at me.
killing
And
themselves. Yeah.
it just makes me so happy to hear them laughing so hard at me. But yeah, sometimes I'm like, I don't think I'm playing Alan Wake tonight before I go to bed. I think I'm gonna play Forza or something happy because I'm a wimp. But yeah, thanks guys. I really appreciate it. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Thanks for coming through,
All right,
Cole.
brother.
Thank you, mate.
Speak
All right,
soon,
later.
Later.
Oh man, it's always great to have him on the show. Where were we? Let's jump on to the next topic. Before we do, please hit the like button. Share us out. We go live 8 p.m. EST every Friday. That'll be 7 p.m. going forward until daylight savings is finished. If you're in Australia, Australian Eastern Standard Time, that's 11 a.m. And if you're in the West Coast, Best Coast, that's 8 a.m. And we do have some West Coast guys from the Best Coast. So welcome to all those guys. You're all amazing. Let's talk about Bungie. Oh, this is a tough one. And just really quickly before I talk about this, I like to kid around on Twitter a lot, and you may have noticed that I didn't post anything. There was one thing that I posted, and I'm sort of really careful around this topic because I do mess around. Everyone knows I console war and have a good laugh with that, and that's mostly jokes. But this is pretty serious because people are losing their livelihoods, and you don't know where that's going to take them. As a human being, and I've lost my job before due to cutbacks, and it's never nice. And you might come home to your missus, or if hopefully you have a missus, come home to your missus, and she might be understanding or whatever, or she might just start slapping you around. You don't know how that's going to go. So and you don't know where that's going to lead you. I know I made a little bit of a joke there, but you don't know where it's going to lead people. They could end up in the darkest points of their life. Hopefully that doesn't happen for most of these people. So when I do talk about this, for me, it's quite serious. I have an issue with large companies cutting back people to line CEOs' pockets. And when you see this, you never see CEOs giving themselves a pay cut. And it's the same when the government does it, when they let people go in governmental jobs. You don't see politicians giving themselves a cutback. And I sort of do think that sort of approach is never going to happen. And I do think that that's sort of an approach that should happen. It should be three-pronged. Sure, you're always going to have to let people go. It's part of capitalism. It's the world we live in, right? But when you're doing that, I think as a CEO, you definitely, one, shouldn't come out and say, we wish everyone the best if you're the CEO, like the CEO of Bungie did. And two, I think you should give yourself a little bit of a cut. Say, hey, we missed our targets. That's on me. I'm going to cut myself back $2 million a year to save at least 10 jobs here. But we had to make layoffs. And I don't think that's an unreasonable thing to expect of CEOs. But it is unreasonable in the way that it's just never going to fucking happen. And it's really unfortunate. And there's a couple of tweets that I want to read out, and then we'll jump into this topic. So Damage 04 said, getting texts from friends impacted by layoffs this morning, said it's frustrating, infuriating even to continue seeing people who strap in to do good work, losing their financial security due to poor management. The continued echoes of poor decisions that made that feel unavoidable. In a few of these cases, knowing how much effort these folks put in during incredibly difficult development and sentiment times puts a sour taste. Development and sentiment at times puts a sour taste in the mouth. Proactive, reactive work always at the end of the funnel and having to make do with what they had. And now they're let go. So yeah, it's a really sort of rough topic, but we're definitely going to get into it. And a couple of things I'm going to say. I think it's fucking egregious, absolutely fucking egregious that a company that acquired them offered them a package, and part of that package was shares. They had to stay with the company for a specific amount of time. They haven't made that time. And so they've lost not only their jobs, but their shares in that company. I think that's extremely unfair. And I think that should be rolled back. This is by no fault of these people. And by the admission of the CEO, these people we're doing great work. And I guess the other thing is to point out, and this is the one thing that I posted, that I think that Sony should be doing more. And I understand that Bungie hasn't had a great year and they missed the target. I think it was 48%. I think that Sony should be doing more to look after these people. They specifically made it clear, and so did Bungie, that there would be no layoffs after the acquisition. And I think you got to hold to that for at least a year. I mean, obviously you can't go indefinitely without having layoffs if you're not having a great time with the studio. But yeah, I just think that was absolutely egregious, and my heart goes out to those people. And the last thing I'm going to say on this is, a lot of people are sort of pointing to saying, "Hey, this is Bungie's decision. This is what happened," and maybe so it may have happened anyway had they not been acquired. But we don't live in a world where they weren't acquired, and when these decisions come down. And yes, I know that Bungie chose the people to lay off and they have to go in there and do the dirty work. But when these decisions come down, they come down from the parent company. And look, I think it was record profits of like $16 billion for SIE. I think some of that money, again, could have been used to help your developers or push them into maybe do a smaller game. I made a video about that earlier in the week. I encourage you to go check it out. But there's other ways than laying people off, and I just don't like it. It pisses me off. So especially when some of these guys have been there for 30 years. I think it's just ungrateful. You're only here because those people did the work to get you here, Bungie. And yeah, I think that Sony and Bungie are responsible for this, and I think they're equally culpable. So I'm going to jump to Umbra because we didn't really get a chance to talk about this. I did have a good conversation in topics with everyone. And I know that people have got differing opinions on this one. And that's cool. Let's try and keep it cool. But Umbra, where are you at on this? How you feeling about these layoffs? Do you think it's necessary, or do you think there's other things that could have been done?
Well, if I'm going right wing, as I was earlier, I might as well go full right wing. Damn these employees. The company matters. No, I'm joking. Seriously. Honestly, it's pretty sucky. And I know people make, point to Pete Parsons, the man with the literary name, but it's pretty sucky that they did this. And like you said, to employees who have been there 20 plus years. We talk about Salvatore, who was let go, who was more or less part of the creation engine that made these songs and the OST for games that we've come to love, from Halo on to Destiny. Long time tenure there. You have McLeese, who also made the Halo logo, who made the only logo. That's how long she'd been there. Who also done other things, I believe, with Destiny as well. You have I can't remember his name's McChrist or something like that, who was also there for a long time. So you have a lot of longtime people who have been removed. Now I know they're probably making upwards in the upper echelon of six figures. So I get why they would target them, and possibly because their roles aren't as needed as other roles to do what they need to do for their day-to-day. But it becomes sucky. And I know, shout out to Holly here, who shared this in our chat, but we did get word that Bungie got back to Paul Tassi, and Parsons did actually give up, him and other execs gave up their annual bonuses, but they didn't share that until today. But I found it funny when somebody in the comment section correctly pointed out, well, did they get to you before this and let you know, or did they, refuse comment before? And he was like, hey, they didn't respond until now. And somebody said that happens when you fire your communications team. And as funny as that sounds, they're absolutely correct. They got rid of a lot of key people in a lot of situations. And I'm with you, Alvin. McLeese should have been unfireable. I agree. Like, even I would say Salvatore. Some would possibly say Marty O'Donnell back when he was let go. But I've heard, talking to a few people, that Marty was pretty much a dick behind the scenes. But still, legendary guys, and these are legendary people. And even if they're not legendary, for these people to lose their job security, it sucks. Any of us would agree. Any of us that work and have to work and survive the way we do, especially with the economy the way it is, it sucks that these people don't have that security, and they don't know what, as the saying goes, where the next meal would come from. It's always unfortunate. We're going to see more of it, unfortunately. And this is partly why sometimes I champion Microsoft doing what they do. Rated #1 as one of the best businesses to work for. But then even Microsoft had to let go of thousands of people, as we remember earlier this year. So it's these are the things that's going to continuously happen. And the best I can say is that I hope these people land on their feet in the other spots. There are people hiring even at Microsoft right now, certain studios and things like that. So it's not all terrible. And if I could make any silver lining out of this, is that Bungie has, I think, at this point, still 1,000 some odd employees. They had to cut 100 people, I believe it was 100, or maybe a little bit more than 100. So as bad as that is, it could be far worse. I just feel like now with us having this updated information, knowing that the execs did take pay cuts from at least from their annual pay cuts, it makes it sting a little less when you think of it that way. But Pete Parsons coming out saying what he said there absolutely wasn't the right time to come out and say what he said, or at least he could have been more contrite in how he said what he said, right? So I can definitely get that feeling. And just to point out, the annual thing doesn't speak to their whole salary, but then you're not going to take less, are you? I don't think people are willing to do that. It's a few people. I know somebody pointed out Nintendo doing it before, which is correct. Nintendo did do that, and they took a pay cut so they can keep those employees. I think if anybody is really true to their word, like Pete Parsons is, attempting to convey, then maybe him and those execs should take a pay cut, not just annual, but a full pay cut to keep and try to retain some of these people. So I don't know. I don't know if it's
Not many
a
people
genuine
do.
take at all. Exactly. So that's when you get into the millions of dollars you make a year, I feel like possibly you could spare a million or two off your check. I don't think it's going to hurt you at that point because these guys are mega rich right now. Let's just be real, and especially what they got the buyout from Sony, the 3.5 they got to be acquired, all of that right there, and then the other shady thing with them not their stocks didn't go through. No, they weren't. I forgot the word for it right now. It starts with a V.
Invested.
Vested.
Vested.
Thank you. Their stocks weren't vested at this point, so it's like that's going to go right back to Bungie. So it feels extra shady knowing that, hey, you'll have until this timeline and then it'll be vested. But we'll get rid of you before you get a chance to do that. And that goes back to us now. It feels really dirty when you hear that like that. It really does. I don't think there's any other way to see that but shady. So it's just all around unfortunate. And I guess it's the old saying, "There's no use of crying over spilled milk." I would just say that I hope these employees or former employees couldn't find a way to land on their feet. A lot of the things how they handled it was shady. I heard people going into the building were just told that you need to come in for an important meeting and weren't allowed to talk to other employees. They saw their friends and teammates and colleagues crying and then removing their stuff from their desk. So things of that nature. It just makes you feel really sad. And I'm sure that anybody who's going through layoffs or has lost a job, you can relate. So, and I agree with Sappho that this is why the CWA getting behind Microsoft and what they were doing to bring unions to it absolutely matters. And I think it should be unions too, honestly.
My heart goes out to all the employees that lost their job. I mean, it's as simple as that. I
Mm-hmm.
think that decisions made in upper management affected this a lot. Uh, Bungie bought the ability to have full control over what they did in Destiny 2, from Activision, and for a lot of the time they did a pretty good job. But I'm not a big Destiny 2 player anymore. I think it's a lifestyle game, but I think the last expansion really really hurt them. It didn't do the numbers it was meant to do, and it obviously has cost these people their jobs. But a lot of it, like I said, goes back to upper management and the decisions that they made, and that hurts. That hurts a lot. So yeah, like I said, my heart goes out to everybody that lost their job. Um, Everybody's struggling at the moment. The economy that we're in at the moment is just no good, and you're seeing layoffs in a lot of the industries. So
But
margins are getting thinner and thinner, and unfortunately, it's just the nature of the beast. that being said, the way that it was done was handled incredibly bad. Like, so they were cut off from their emails. They were cut off from, making contact with other employees. They weren't told about it until, like, that day. So I think I just don't like that. That's really
Yeah.
not a
Well,
way to
they're
handle people
they're
that have been there for years.
they're in a tech industry, so I think there are some things that, when you are let go, justified or not, right? That have to be shut off immediately, right? Due to certain proprietary issues and other things that happen with tech. But the benefits, the stock options, all of that stuff, it was just done very callously. And we know that Pete Parsons and some of the others, right, have had a long history with kind of not acting in good faith. So it's just unfortunate and pretty horrible. No severance packages and things like that.
Yeah, and I think
mean, layoffs happen, but they have to if they're not done in the right way, it just it's disrespectful to everyone and hurts people.
and disrespectful to the legacy of what I think Bungie is, and I know that this is a pretty depressing topic, so we'll move on to a good one in a minute. But I'll just add that to when you look at the reasons for it, like the missing of targets, that's on management. Like, management made these decisions. This is not the devs making these decisions, but it's the devs who pay the price, and that's really hard to reconcile if you're a human that has a heart. I don't have a heart, so I've got a little shriveled black like pea thing. It's not quite a heart, but if you do have one, it's pretty hard to reconcile. One other thing that I'll sort of point to, the irony of this is and overall we could say Destiny 2's successful, but the irony of this is PlayStation has acquired this studio because they are the masters of live service games, so that they could bring these live service games forward into the future. And then you see the studio is struggling to maintain their live service game. And I don't think that that's all studio fault. I don't think that's all Bungie's fault, in fairness. What I think is that we are seeing a shift in the industry of people are sort of moving away from these live service games and not playing them as much. And I think they're sort of looking for the next new thing, as well as there's so many live service games. There's so much competition, especially in 2023, to bring people back to Destiny is a lot harder. And just something that I think studios, and again, you can put that back to management. I think studios, management, publishers should be prepared for that. Like, hey, what else have we got on the
People
burner?
will come back
Sorry?
to the final shape, which they're making at the moment, which is because it's the last entry into this saga of Destiny 2. So there's no doubt that they will bring people back, but this whole thing is probably going to delay that release, which is going to impact revenue, which is probably going to hurt people's jobs. And then, I don't know what you guys think, but Marathon just does not look good to me. So I'm worried about that.
Well,
game.
that's the
I
interesting.
never thought
the
it looked
whole
good.
Yeah, that I thought it did,
Yeah.
and that's an interesting thing because recently in the week they had a showing of that for a lot of FPS, like players, guys that are Destiny players, etc. And they asked the question. One of the questions they asked in the sit down at the end of the preview was, if this game was released tomorrow, show of hands, who would play it? And not a single person in that room raised their hand. So that's
I talked to
concerning.
Crusader about that. He was saying that they went into more detail. It was the case that the current build they had at that point was why people didn't feel comfortable raising their hands, because they felt it wasn't representative of enough of a final product. And so that's why they went back to the drawing board too. But I think, again, when I saw Marathon, I'm like you, Pete, I wasn't impressed at all. Actually, that whole showcase of Sony's was all those, that live service games. It was like, nah, no, thank you. Most of those did nothing for me, personally, that we saw. So, and that was one of them. And I'll say this too. A lot of people had always championed the return of Bungie to save Halo. And I think they've kind of ignored that, much like in BioWare. BioWare isn't BioWare anymore. They are Beano. BioWare in name only. The same thing I think applies to Bungie in this case, because most of the people that were there that made the games we love from Halo 1 through Reach, they're not there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They're not there anymore. Even now, Salvatore and McLeese, now they're gone. So that's why the way I titled my show the other day is Bungie, is at the end of Bungie, basically, or the death of Bungie, because it's not really our Bungie. This is a different Bungie. Most of those people there are not from the Bungie we knew.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Hines is doing an amazing job when it comes to Halo. Everything he's done so far is excellent. So yeah, look, I don't know about who's left at Bungie and who's not left, but I think that Sony, if the rumors are to be believed, and they're moving on from gas games and they're pivoting from what Jim Ryan's vision was, have spent an awful lot of money on Bungie with Destiny 2 coming, I think, to the end of its life cycle. I don't know how long it can be maintained, and then Marathon not looking good. So, look, I mean, all this remains to be seen, but what do you guys think about the Bungie acquisition now in hindsight?
Well, I think another interesting part when you're talking about the Bungie acquisition is that on the back of this, Sony's just made another acquisition for machine learning, sort of dipping into AI as well. So you're making acquisitions whilst you're letting people go. Yeah, I mean that puts even worse.
Optics.
Yeah, worse taste in my mouth about like the acquisition. I still believe that this would have happened. I think that so as much as I think Sony has a hand in the layoffs, I also think that they would have happened regardless. So,
look, there was a lot of negative feedback within the internal Destiny 2 community when they released the last update. It fell very, very flat. And I think it has mostly to do with that rather than, anything Sony did.
I think that game has kind of reached its end life, right, too, because it's really hard for a new player to jump in. I know they've done a lot to fast forward you in levels and things like that to make it entry level, but it's just not necessarily the most accessible. But the conversation here also pivots to the fact that Sony bought Bungie for a variety of reasons, but one of the big ones was to work on these 12 gas games that were supposedly in the pipeline, right? And they came in and they were supposed to be assisting with factions, but they came in and said factions is a hot mess. Let's just not do that. And, Sony has a lot of studios that are very, very good and very set up for single player, cinematic experiences. And to try to get Bungie to just give them a crash course in retrofitting new games or versions of games in those universes into gas games is just, it's probably not the easiest thing to do and might not be successful, right? We don't know, but seems like the first one didn't quite hit the mark, and it's I have a feeling that there's a shakeup going on somewhere in the company right now.
Behind the scenes,
trying to figure out
Mm-hmm.
Because Jim's leaving, and it seems like they've got some internal dilemma going on, right, with Connie being fired. And I think that the Bungie issues that are going on now, Bungie's got their own problems, and they delayed Marathon into 2025, and how they're supposed to come in and help these other studios on top of managing their own less than stellar performances is probably just it's too much pressure on one company.
Yeah.
Or one division
well said.
of one company.
Riskit, I think it's a perfect time to read Alvin's super chat, mate. 1.2 billion for employee retention.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So Alvin
Right.
with $2 super chat said, where's that 1.2 billion for the employee retention? Which is, yeah, exactly. Well, obviously it's gone to the staff, but then that a lot of that 1.2 billion would have been shares. So
yeah, a lot of those were shares. That's those vested shares that the employees are no longer getting. Now that's all Bungie's.
So yeah, that's again an issue. And Spartan with the 661 with the 199 super chat, he says, I am seeing Phil Spencer getting a raise soon. Yeah, well, he's been doing a good job. So I mean, yeah, you can't fault the way that Xbox has been going, but sort of goes to a larger issue. I think King of Hell in the chat said, don't forget about the Insomniac layoffs. When you talk about those, they've just finished out Spider-Man 2, so they were ramping down a lot of production. So that's probably very likely to happen every time and we don't know if it's contractors or whatever. And I don't want to sort of turn that into a console war thing, but what I would say as well, like to Blue's point, is what is going on at PlayStation right now. Like they are really I don't think you can look at that company and go, yeah, we're good. They are just not good. They are in a situation now where I think they're just as bad as the launch of the PlayStation 3. I think that any pivot that they make, we're not going to see for the next 3 to 5 years, minimum, right? And so anything that when it comes to a first party content, I think there's no other way to say this. I think they fucked up pretty badly. And now they're trying to wind it back, but you can't fix these problems in the space of a year, the space of 2 years, and then have that launch. And I think we're going to see it in the games. Now, I'll go to the bugs as well. I think because Insomniac released Spider-Man 1, and again, like I said, I got to that late, but I didn't have a single bug in Spider-Man 1 that I can remember. And probably there was a little one. Maybe someone went through a wall, but it was nothing that I would remember. Spider-Man 2 is absolutely riddled with bugs. God of War, I know that HD said that there was no issues with God of War. Well, there was. I played that game. I posted a few online. And there was animation bugs where you'd stomp someone and their head would go through the ground. Which is not a big bug, but there was bugs. And I think it's a worrying trajectory for PlayStation, who are known for not having those sorts of things in their game. So I'm pretty concerned about which way PlayStation goes. And currently, to be completely honest, I do have a PlayStation 5. And after Spider-Man, I don't see a reason to have that around. There's other things that I would like that I want to purchase that are at, sort of at that price range. In Australia, it's $850 for a PlayStation 5. I'm probably gonna. Does anyone want to buy a PlayStation 5? So yeah, I'm concerned for Sony.
But don't you think, Riskit, Insomniac's great, right? They're fantastic. And I suspect that if they had a little bit more time, that game would have come out flawless. Isn't it really just, I think Sony looked at 2023 and went, oh crap, right? We're in trouble. We need something, right? We need something. And this is as close as it's, going to get for us to be able to get it out this year. It's got a few issues here and there. We'll just deal with it. Oh,
yeah. Yeah, I think that's part of the problem. Yeah, so I think it was slightly rushed? Yeah, I think so. And I think, reasonably so too. For exactly the reasons that you said. They should push it out the door. I think God of War Ragnarok as well probably could have done with releasing in January instead of the back end of the year as well. And I think it would have been fine. I think they're both really close to being fairly flawless games, but they just didn't have enough time in the oven. And not that it removes a lot of the enjoyment from the game. Those sorts of things I can ignore. A lot of people will carry on about there's bugs in it, should lose 3 points. Nah, I don't see it like that. If it doesn't break the game for me and I can't complete it, then, I even had a bug that broke the game in Jedi Survivor, and I had to wait, I think it was 3 months until I could complete the last 2 achievements. And I still didn't drop a point for that. That's just, I don't think it's a good thing. I think publishers need to pull their heads in on that sort of stuff. But it's just sort of part and parcel. I think at this point in the industry, we shouldn't support it. I'm against redemption arcs, but it is what it is.
You said you were against redemption arcs?
Yeah, definitely.
Why so?
Why am I against redemption arcs? I think it gives publishers license to release buggy games. Again, it gives publishers license to force things out the door because they can just fix it later and we'll be forgiven.
No, I get that, but I get that. I guess I'm looking at it you don't want them to redeem themselves, but if they're releasing a unfinished or buggy game and they're hey, later we'll fix it. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, I think It's not that I don't want them to fix their games. I want them to fix their games, but before that even gets to that point, I want them to release a fully completed release, like a game that runs as it should, that has the content that it should. Like, I think we see it too many times. I think we're getting to a point where we should stop supporting redemption arcs like Cyberpunk. Not that it has any effect, my one non-sale against the 12 million it sold probably means
I will say
fuck all, but
it's unfortunate you feel that way though, because Cyberpunk is the bee's knees. Sorry, brother. I love that game, and I will
cat's
defend
meow.
it. Yeah, there you go. It is the cow's
I'm sitting in the chair
moo.
right now.
My poisonous mind went elsewhere. It's the cow's moo.
Look,
yeah, I don't want to. I won't say anything else.
It's probably a good. It's the chicken's cluck. It's probably
Somebody throw a damn tomato at this man in the chat.
It's probably
he tried to
is.
get in on me and Holly's field here.
But then,
let us have this moment.
But when you like with the way that game was released, that game did not deserve a redemption arc. It does not deserve the goodwill that it gets. It doesn't. I
just agree with you on that.
It's
I
not
just
true.
agree.
Red, and it didn't even relaunch that bad. It did on last generation consoles. They should never have tried to do that. They overextended themselves on current gen consoles.
Yeah, I agree.
It really wasn't that bad.
No,
I played it on the X when it
was.
came out, and it was great.
It wasn't great.
I played on a 1X.
It was
I had
pretty
a
bad.
1X.
It was pretty bad.
But
look at the way they
didn't
launched
play
it.
it. You
Look
can't
at
say that.
I played it on the.
like a whole bunch of cyberpunk shills.
It was great.
You're all going to be moved over to the. Well, how
You
do I
know,
move
when
you?
you're the only one in the room that's saying something different, I think then you have to do an internal evaluation.
No.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Good
Otherwise,
point. Good point,
Einstein
Holly.
would never have come up with his theory of relativity. But listen, and I'm not saying that I'm Einstein, but I'm, referring to myself as one. But look, with how they released that game, it was by blocking all console reviews, having the embargo run up to just before the launch. They lied. They plain face fucking lied about a whole bunch of stuff. Like flat out lied to the community. The community that had that held them up.
It was shady, right? It was shady practices in some ways. Don't get me wrong. I blame that largely though on the people above them that forced them to put it out.
Oh yeah, no,
also,
not the devs.
Yeah, and this is why I say they do deserve that redemption arc, and I would give that to anybody as long as they're not forcibly trying to put out trash. CD Projekt Red is top tier talent in the industry. We just had Witcher 3 from them, which is a masterpiece in my book, and was a game of the generation last generation. I can't just be like, they messed up one time, and I'm going to get rid of them. They don't deserve any redemption. Yes, they do. They are worthy of that because they are quality devs.
I don't mean the studio. I'm not talking about get rid of the studio
game.
I mean, like
that game is specific. You're saying,
yeah, no one should buy that. No one should buy that game because you are literally supporting being lied to and every shady practice that went along with that.
It's just not true.
That is 110% true.
If you buy it now, you're buying the game at a reduced price and getting a fantastic experience. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I agree.
And don't forget what they actually did to The Witcher 3 as well. Now, The Witcher 3 launched with a lot of, bugs, especially in that one area where the frame rate dropped significantly. I think it was 9 on the PlayStation and 21 on the Xbox. So it had bugs, and then like what they did to that game, just fix after fix after fix. They're still doing fixes to now. So if anybody deserves a little bit of leeway, I believe it's CD Projekt Red.
Absolutely. Now, and I was hear you on the game thing, Risk, but like, have you actually given that game a real try?
No, because he won't buy it.
I will not buy that game.
See, that's why I'm saying. Like,
I'm going to gift it to him.
No, don't even. He's not worthy of that love.
I mean, I can't burn a digital copy, but I can try.
But it's like 20, like you are getting an amazing game for like $20 now.
You absolutely are.
Like,
you're denying yourself.
Yeah.
You're denying yourself, honestly.
Listen, I understand that not everyone, sticks to their principles, and that's absolutely fine.
All right. Okay. All right. You can just calm down with the backhanded silliness.
If you all are not people of principle, that's absolutely fine. I've got no issue with that.
Listen. Listen, the
You
thing
wanna-
is don't even do it to him, Holly. Don't even do it to him.
Mm.
I'm just saying that I think some principles are rooted in the wrong way of thinking, and that would be you at this moment. But listen,
It's just-
on it,
Because
the
he
game is
backhanded that was
isn't
foreheaded.
perfect.
Yeah.
The game
You're about
isn't
to make-
perfect.
You're about to make Blue look purple because she's red with rage.
But listen, the game is not perfect, right? Like even now, if you play it, I'm sure there are going to be some things you don't like. But they've done a really, really solid job of trying to turn that ship around for the issues it did have. But even then, when I played it on the Xbox One X, I love that game, man. I put in 450 plus hours into that world. Loved it. And I still want to get to Phantom Liberty now. And I'm hearing nothing but positives for that. So I think you honestly, Risk, you're doing yourself a disservice. I think it's one of those games you have to give a chance.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
I don't like your rebuttal.
I think it was well thought out and eloquent. A little bit long winded, but I feel like
He just won't listen. He just won't listen. That's all it is.
He's getting
He has no
revenge because
argument.
I was too straightforward with what I said.
Yeah, look,
He's like,
and again,
don't use logic on me.
so like I just can't. I don't want them to work on Redfall. I don't like the fact that Battlefield 4 released so broken you could not play that game, and then now people talk about that game like it's the best Battlefield that was ever made. We're completely removing the fact that those publishers sold you a bike without wheels. Right? Because you can't fucking ride a bike without wheels, and you couldn't play Battlefield 4 when it released. And for a lot of people, Cyberpunk was the same. And there's no other industry where they can sell you a bike without wheels and then get those wheels to you later, and you're going to be happy about it. And I guess
upper management, just like the decisions they made with Bungie about the layoffs. I mean, you could say the same and argue the same point with CD Projekt Red. Upper management forced them to release that game, and they knew that it wasn't ready because they wanted. They already had the pre-orders. They had already made money. So,
but no one can. No one's arguing.
sometimes-
No, I'm not arguing that it's not upper management's fault. It absolutely is. It's never. Devs always want more time, even when a game's almost perfect. So it's never going to be the devs that are to blame. And unfortunately, it's probably going to be the devs that cop the ire, right? But in this case, it really wasn't, because we heard so much and saw so much from, the CEO of CD Projekt Red. I'm sick of seeing those little plaques, right, where we're sorry about how we released our game and we're going to fix it. Like, I'm fucking tired of it. Like, they need to stop doing that. It's like, I almost want to lead a charge back to cartridges at this point, like where they can't update the game. It was supposed to be, in the early days, it was supposed to be like, awesome, we're going to get a game and we're going to get more content with this game. And they're going to
drop.
But it's turned into
dropped last gen.
Yeah, well, yeah, they should have. They absolutely should have. But it was greedy publishers that made a decision not to. And I'm sure the developers were telling them, hey, we can't make this work on this generation, which they did, and they could, but they needed more time to do it.
To me, with that whole saga and the whole Cyberpunk saga, is we're losing the Red Engine, which I think is a fantastic engine, one that's capable of taking on Unreal, and they're moving over to Unreal, which, I mean, look, remains to be seen whether it's better or not, but Alan Wake shows that engine is beautiful, but I think that...
Alan Wake's on Northlight, so that's a different engine.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, Alan Wake's on the Northlight engine. It's pretty amazing engine, that one. Magnum Westwood said, my car had its airbags patched later, so it does happen in other industries. It shouldn't fucking happen. What if you died, first week because you banged your head on the steering wheel because you had a car accident? It's going, real serious. But I just think, redemption arcs are, always good and feel good and everyone sort of loves it. But I think it's there's a root problem, and the root problem is that they do believe, or publishers are we'll fix it later. Devs don't want to do that. I don't think any of the devs at CD Projekt Red were like, yeah, fuck it, we're going to release this game. We don't care. We're off the back of the success of Witcher 3, which is an amazing game. And hey, we don't care about our reputation. I don't think that happened. I think publishers see money. and want to get the thing out the door and get sales through the doors because they want to look good to their shareholders. They don't give a fuck about us.
They didn't need
And
to
that's
fix the game, but they already made enough money, and they knew the damage they did to their reputation, and they have fought very, very hard to win. Us back, us gamers back. They didn't need to do that.
No, they didn't need to do that. You're right. You're absolutely right. But then I think gamers should stand their ground sometimes. Like literally stand their ground and go, no more. Stop it.
Sound like some right-wing talk right there. Stand your ground.
Hold the line. Advance the line.
Don't tread on me. And what else?
Yeah, look, I think we've sort of borne this out as far as it's going to go. But like, yeah, I sort of drew my line at Cyberpunk. So, whether it's an experience that I miss out on, that's fine. My one sale is not going to go to them.
I just feel that like you're missing out.
Great game.
Yeah.
Nope.
I just feel like you're missing out on a really quality game overall, honestly. A quality experience. How about that?
Nope. I'm not doing it. This is my line.
Very great counter argument. Thank you.
Hey, what's the question?
You're not going to play Phantom Liberty either.
Nope.
Damn.
Nope.
All right.
Don't worry about DLCs. You should have just released a fully fledged game, and then don't come back.
Yeah, everybody in the chat, if you agree with Riskit's stance here, put a 1 in the chat. If you disagree and think he should play Cyberpunk, put a 2, and we will force him to play it. If you agree with him, put a 1. If you disagree with him, put a 2 and force him to play it. Consensus matters.
Oh, I pressed the wrong thing. All right, I meant to put a poll in the chat, and I put a Q&A in there, and I don't really know what the Q&A thing is. So, gosh darn it! Now I'm stalling. Look, we got to wrap it up. I think that's enough Cyberpunk talk. It's an absolute trash game, and you shouldn't support the devs.
Look at Beastie.
That's right, BZ. Andy Mac. Yeah.
What are they saying? I can't quite say 1.5. I agree.
A bunch of 2s.
It's a bunch of 2s. It's 2 for doing it, right? Yeah, 2 for not moving in line. Fucking A. Umbra, another fantastic show. You're completely wrong about Cyberpunk, but we're going to let it go. Let people know where they can find you, what you're up to, and how your week's going.
Oh man, I'm gonna be jumping back onto Xbox tonight. I'll probably be on for about 2 to 3 hours. I do have some things I want to watch. I'm trying to watch Invincible season 2. I didn't get a chance to watch it yesterday. I want to check out that The Boys V spinoff, and I also want to try to watch it. Yeah, I've heard it was good, right? And then also the Spider-Verse movie, the second one, is on Netflix now, so I figure I'll check that out. I haven't checked it out yet.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
what's on Netflix?
I will. What? It's on Netflix. Yeah,
you sure
Spider-Verse part?
Disney?
Not in Australia, bro.
It's on.
It's not in Australia. Oh, okay. It's here.
Why would they sell that to Netflix? That seems very un-Disney of them.
Know.
Yeah, right.
Well, that's not Disney though. That's Sony though, right? So.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah. But besides that, I will try to get in some Halo tonight. That's my favorite franchise of all time. So I hope to get in a few hours with that with Pete and the guys. And if the firefight is there, I do want to try it out. So other than that, man, yeah, I'll be playing some other things.
Is Firefight the BR? Sorry, is Firefight the BR?
Yeah, no, it's
PvE, Holly. So
it's PvE. What do they call that though, Pete? It's a name for that. Not Forge. It's a name for
mode?
that. Horde. It's a horde mode.
It's not.
Yeah, we got to fight off.
It's not really a horde mode. Well, they do come in waves, but so Firefight at the moment hasn't been done by 343, so it's been done by the community. So there are some levels that are just designed like campaign levels in Halo. Then there are others that are just wave mode, so more like horde mode. But all of this has been done by the community literally in a couple of weeks. So the Halo community and the modders out there are just amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I did forget as well, Spartan661 with the $4.99 super chat. He said, is there any other people that doesn't understand or can realize There is no engine like the creation engine. Bethesda from now on, get ready. Yeah, look, Spartan, I think that engine needs work, and I hope before they start working on Elder Scrolls 6, I think that they spend a little bit of time on that engine. That would be my hope.
100% agree.
Mhm.
100% agree. And also to shout out to them for parts for the second iteration of it. Like, it is a solid engine in ways, right? Like, clearly Starfield looks good in some elements. Like, you look at the interiors of ships and things like that, it's like, wow, this looks good. But when you look at faces and animations of people, then it's when it comes up short. It's like, nah, that's outdated as hell. So in some ways they have to
the level
evolve.
of detail of objects is what they focused on, as well as draw distance. So they focus on things that I think other developers and other engines don't focus on. And I do find that a little bit strange, bro.
Yeah. Absolutely. Where can people find you, Umbra? I don't think you quite got that.
Oh yeah, sorry, forgot about Twitter and X or whatever you want to call this thing, Infinite Umbra or Umbra Infinite. You guys will find me there, and of course, you can check me out on the Fix. I'll post a link in a second. If you guys haven't done so, subscribe and come by and support us sometime. We go live at 8 Eastern, although that'll change, I believe, till 7 Eastern next week. So 7 Eastern next week. Come by and show us some love. And yeah, guys, enjoy your weekend. Chat, thank you all for being here with us tonight.
Absolutely.
And love to my panel and host.
Much love to the chat, except for Dauntless. Jedi Knight, how's you? I mean, Dauntless, you're right. Call it love. Disdain? Is disdain a nice positive word? I don't think it is. Jedi Knight,
No, I
Peter.
think it sounds worse. Disdain's.
Another fantastic week. Let people know where they can find you, what you'll be up to, what you'll be playing. Hopefully you'll get on Alan Wake because you just need to play that game. But yeah.
JediKnightPeter everywhere. I don't think I'll get to Alan Wake because I'm lost again in Lords of the Fallen. I've never gotten so lost in any game that I've ever played. That's one thing that's really, really bugging me about the game. Other than that, I love it. I'll be on that. I'll be playing, hopefully, Payday 3 with Holly and Red Wolf, and I'll be jumping in some Halo with hopefully Panda and Umbra and whoever else wants to play, because Firefight is a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you don't know, Pete lives in a 1-bedroom penthouse apartment in the centre of Melbourne. It is one room, a very open plan, and he once got lost there too. So, I mean, I don't know if that means a lot in relation to the... Yeah, I just thought I'd throw that out there. Blue, another fantastic week. Let people know where they can find you, what you'd be up to, and what are you looking forward to play. I'm actually so stoked that you're on Alan Wake too. I get to have a good chat with someone about that. So I'm looking forward to you playing that game.
I'm stoked I'm not playing 1 anymore. Yeah, I will be playing Alan Wake 2, and I will be playing Payday, hopefully, and finishing the Call of Duty campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I might jump into Halo just out of FOMO, but I
Did she?
am not.
Is she?
I really, chat, I think Halo campaigns are one of the best things ever. I'm the opposite of Umbra, I guess, or I think that Halo campaigns are amazing. I hate the multiplayer. I hate it. But Call of Duty multiplayer, I love, and he hates it. So
Yeah, we look
we're
the
like
reverse there, right?
we are. But you know, I get mad and remind myself why I don't like it. So, you know, that has to come around every once in a while. But yeah, that's what I'll be doing, and I'm ThatBlueNumber everywhere.
Absolutely.
Except the Book of Faces, because I don't have it.
And if you do, if you need to find any one of our guests or any one of our panel members, you can head down into the description, click the links, it'll take you straight to them, and hit that follow and subscribe button. If you're new here, guys, hit the subscribe button. If you love the show, please hit a like. Thank you for all the guys in the chat who support us every week. You guys are absolute champions. I know that Jazz and Rand were like cutting our lunch today, so shout out to them. They have a fantastic show. And me, I'll be finishing off Alan Wake. I will be finishing off the COD campaign, and then I'll probably be having a baby. not in a video game, but in real life. So probably,
Wow, you're gonna have
Yourself?
a baby, bro. No, I didn't
Yourself?
think that was possible, bro.
yeah, I was
Damn.
gonna, I'm anatomically altered. Look, yeah, I'm gonna
That's
be
why
a little.
you're pregnant, bro.
I'm gonna be. Oh, that's so true. Yeah, It's gonna be an interesting week for me. I don't know what's gonna go on next week. I've been real busy this week, and I'll be busy next week, and I don't know exactly how it's gonna go with the show, depending on the baby. So, guys, look, keep an eye out. We may not go live next week. I'm hoping we'll be able to. And if we can, it's gonna be an absolutely fantastic one. We'll see you all next week.
Good luck, Risk. Good luck to Emma as well, bro.
See you
Absolutely.
guys. Yep. And congrats, Risk and family.
Thanks. Well, you guys, stop it.